we've addressed the issue of credit, we've addressed the issue of consumption. Let me address the issue of Capex. And I want to understand from each one of you what kind of appetite you have at this point in time to go out there and actually do big ticket Capex. Anish, I'll start with you. Across each of your businesses at the Mahindra Group, how much risk are you willing to take? How bold and courageous do you feel today?
So Shireen, even as we look at a potential global recession, we are doubling capacity in our auto business today. We are halfway through that. In the next 12 months, we will be at double. We are increasing our farm capacity by 60%. In a holidays business, we are looking at putting up ideally another 25 to 50 resorts. Our life spaces business is looking at townships over large tracts of land. Logistics, we made a couple of acquisitions. We want to do more. So we're actually going out there in a very bullish manner today and looking for acquisitions, looking for more capacity, looking for growth to scale up our businesses.
TV Narendran, do you have the appetite for more, or are you still digesting what you already got?
No, I think, Shireen, even in a challenging year like we've had, if you look at it, we've spent more than 20,000 crores in India, 12,000 crores on inorganic growth and 8,000, 9,000 organic growth. I think there are two parts to it. One is private sector Capex will come back as demand grows, profitability grows, and balance sheets gets repaired. But I also think there's a lot more we can do to get more out of the capital which is already invested. And I think that's been an experience over the last few years, whether it's private sector capital through the IBC process, you pick it up and unlock more value from it, or public sector Capex, like more recently we acquired Nilachal, a plant which was shut for 3 years is now running at full capacity. So I think there's a lot of capital already invested through the government or through private sector, which can also be far more productive, in addition to new capital going in.
Prabha?
I think what's happened over COVID is certainly our supply chains have got more agile, more resilient and more frugal. But I do think that Capex and investment will come as the demand picks up. It will certainly keep pace with it because the longer term India story is absolutely in place. So.
Adar?
No, so I mean, we've made investments and acquisitions both at our new campuses and also backward integrating by acquiring, you know, the raw material suppliers, syringe manufacturers and things like that, because I think that's very, very critical going forward, because we've been looking at, you know, the way in which all countries are going through this self-reliance investment cycle, which is what's closing the kind of doors to the kind of free flow of raw materials and materials without duties and other taxes that was happening. So we've earmarked about $2 billion, of which we've spent already $1.5 billion in Capex, and also we've earmarked another $500 million to acquire a few more of these sort of companies outside to support the raw material side. So, you know, I mean, the Capex for all these new vaccines and things anyway is something which we're doubling down on, and we had already invested about $1.5 billion during the COVID crisis, obviously, for that capacity. So we're taking our capacity now to 4 billion doses. Which makes it, you know, very, very... And
international acquisitions to ensure safety of your supply chain, that's the focus.
Well, that, and we've made some in India as well, you know, with some partners from Germany, so we're doing that now.
Zarin, what's the sense that you're getting in terms of lift-off as far as private Capex is concerned when you talk to people?
So it's, I think, very industry and sector specific that we are seeing. Wherever we're seeing capacity utilization becoming higher, we're seeing definitely Capex happening. A core sector, real estate, clearly data centers, lots of industries where we are seeing a lot of greenfield investments or brownfield happening. There are some industries where clearly capacity utilization is less than 75%. Where I think the moment it crosses that level, we'll see Capex coming in.
Yeah, yes, utilization varies across different sectors. Mr. Kotak, how much appetite do you have at this point in time to go out there and do big ticket or small ticket acquisitions?
We are very open and always looking out for the right opportunity. And Shireen, back to the earlier point you made, which is about how do we build scale and investment in India. What I feel is happening is there's a lot of activity at the startup level, at the really small early stage, and there is pretty good investment by the big guys. I think what India has to focus is the middle corporates who have to be a core part of the building of India. And it is there I think we really need to focus. India must fix the missing middle for scale on a sustainable basis.
But, what do you believe is the need of the hour at this point in time in being able to fix that missing middle? Because this is not something that's new, that's on the table as a challenge or as a problem.
I think to a certain extent, consolidation amongst the bigger players has happened significantly. And let's look at 2 or 3 sectors. Telecom. You're down to maybe 2 or 3 players.
Now 3.
You look at airlines. You're effectively down to 2 players.
Yeah.
You look at steel. 2 big guys are really running away. Where is the larger middle India to go out there and compete, becoming middle from small and middle becoming large so that many flowers can bloom? So we have startups, we have the big guys. We got to create the middle for building a sustainable and a resilient India as you started.
That's an important point that you make, Mr. Kotak, and let me get TV Narendran to comment on this. To his point that we've now got these monopolies being created across different sectors. We've got, you're smiling.
I wouldn't use that word.
Okay.
We wouldn't be making losses if there was.
Dominance. But to his point on how do we encourage the missing middle to flourish as well?
No, I think that's important, but we also need to look at industries which have to compete globally, need global scale. There's a Chinese steel company which produces more steel than all of India put together. Right? Bao Steel is bigger than the steel industry of India. So if you have to compete with global players, you need scale. So you need the big guys to also scale up because India should be competitive, Indian industry should be competitive. But I agree with Uday because there's also a very big role for the smaller players. I mean, there's no big manufacturing economy on the world which doesn't have a strong MSME sector. They are world-class MSME companies. They may not be big in size, but they're world-class in quality. I think Germany is a great example. Korea is a great example. Italy is a great example. So I think I agree with Uday that we need to build that capability. The big companies also need to play a role there because a lot of them are part of the supply chain of the big companies. So there's a lot of work that we need to do.
Rajiv, Memani, to the point, and this is going to be critical as we get to that 20 trillion or 26 trillion by 2030 target that you put out. 2047, sorry. 2047 target that you put out. React and respond to what we're hearing.
No, I think it's absolutely right. But I would say that today, if you are a MSME, global volatility has gone up. If he has to go and take loans, none of these gentlemen who are here are going to give loans unless you have personal guarantees. So a lot of people are very hesitant to give personal guarantees. For them to approach and raise equity from capital markets, I think the level of compliance that one has, the kind of processes that one has to go through is very difficult. Is private equity, why is startup doing well? Because there is global funding like venture capital, private equity that's available. For the mid-sized sectors, it's not available. But having said that, I think what I'm seeing is that a lot of Indian manufacturing companies, the larger ones, when they look at their procurement list, they look at what are the items that they're importing. And more people now understand that the mood of the government is very clear, that they want to encourage more and more manufacturing. So at least what we are seeing, that even in the MSME space, companies are looking at trying to see how can they domestically manufacture more and more, and that's where we are seeing MSME investments that are coming in.
And there have been some announcements in the budget, including one which corporate India hasn't taken very well to, which is to pay the dues to MSMEs legitimately, which they ought to.
No, I think they've taken it well. I think there are some issues which I think are not that significant, that, if you make provisions at the end of the year, how will you treat that and everything else. But I would say, I think most of corporate India, I think the tone of corporate India, at least in my view, has changed from where it was 5-6 years back to now. Most people have a much wider view apart from their own industry. They are trying to see what's good for the country and how they want to drive that piece.
He's lobbed the ball back in your court, Mr. Kotak, in terms of coming out there and nurturing and supporting the 1,000 flowers to bloom. What are you doing about it?
My position is clear. As a banker, we would love to dramatically increase financing of the middle, okay? Because that's where we really see an opportunity. And as long as we can manage our risks and the returns, we think there's a huge opportunity. On the larger players, as you asked me the question in the beginning, they're in any case going overseas. They think Indian banks are too small for them. So where is the question?
Do you see that changing? Do you see that changing though now?
Depends on them. Ask Narendran, ask Anish, ask Adar and other corporates you talk to.
He's lobbing the ball back in your court. Now, Anish, I'll get you to start responding to Mr. Kotak.
So on this, we borrow from Indian banks only. The service is great. The rates are actually lower than what we can get from outside, given the credit rating we have. The only thing is we don't borrow too much, and we've been generating lots of cash, so we've been repaying whatever little we borrowed. So therefore, we don't count in the sort of list of borrowings as such. But on the middle, that's a very important point, and that's also up to the industries, because if you look at the auto and tractor industries, we've developed a very large ecosystem, and many of them have become large corporates in their own right, not just MSMEs, and they are supplying globally as well. So we've created a very strong ecosystem in the industries that we are in, and I think that will happen in many of our industries as we go forward. In commodities and services, yes, you may have larger players, you may have more consolidation, but as we start thinking of manufacturing in India, we will start generating a lot more MSMEs that will graduate beyond that.